have to talk about localizers far too much on the channel because they're constantly ruining our entertainment and they're so full of themselves, it's crazy. But now we're finding out that more political translations have been added into a recently released visual novel. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, I have actually never talked about this publisher before, but they are known for inserting politics and memes and questionable translations into their content, but I wanted to start off with this Sankaku Complex article. It says the publisher Shiravune is at it again with political inserts in translations, with the latest case coming from the localization of the recently released visual novel Criminal Border or Liminal Border on Steam. Again, this publisher is actually pretty well known and not for very positive reasons at this point. It says they previously made headlines after trampling over the localization of Nukatashi with politics, Big Bang Theory memes, and other questionable translations. This time around, it didn't take long for users to see more of the same, with an early example showing a character using the term incel when the original Japanese work said loser instead. Now, obviously, incel is this very just cringy new term that is being used, but a term like loser is pretty universal, right? It doesn't have any specific meaning besides, oh, you're just kind of lame, you're kind of a loser. And changes like this are very small, yes, but they all add up because when you look at the grand scheme of things with this publisher, this is not the first time and it's not going to be the last time that they make changes like this, and that is why it is so important to call out things like this, because they get bold. They decide, you know what, we're going to push the limits a little bit more in our next visual novel or the one after that. And then you end up with titles that are completely butchered. It says the developer Purple Software's work was censored from the start on Steam after being renamed from Criminal Border First Offense to Liminal Border Part 1, likely due to strict guidelines from the platform. So this is, another situation, it being renamed, and I wouldn't necessarily say that that is the publisher's fault. They can't really be blamed for changing the name for its Steam release, because we do know that Steam is extremely strict and they are constantly telling, developers what they can and can't put into games, or demanding they change names of products in order to get a release. So we can't necessarily blame them for that, but we can blame them for allowing changes like incel and from loser when it comes to localizations. But like I mentioned, back in June they were caught doing this. Many changes. As you can see, the highly anticipated English localization of Nukatashi was released on June 23rd, but it wasn't without its fair share of controversy after users called it out for being full of politics, Western memes, and questionable translations. I am so sick and tired of everything being modernized or westernized. This is such a cringy thing for localizers to do. Unfortunately, it's because of the localizers themselves, though. There are so many localizers who take all of these creative liberties because they feel, you know what, this content either offends me, or I think I could make this, for the audience we're trying to release it for, make it a little bit more relatable, I guess they think, by adding things like Western memes. But it says Shiravune, the company behind the localization, has been criticized for several points, with the most significant complaints being the use of immersion-breaking slang and replacing Japanese culture with Western cultural elements. If I wanted to play a game with Western memes and being full of politics, I would just play games that are being made by Western developers, because that is what they do. While it's understandable that not everything is translatable, Nukitashi's localization had numerous unfaithful or non-literal translations. Users also noticed how the localization was seemingly walking on eggshells to avoid cultural sensitivities, while also making players feel like they were the subject of ridicule, i.e. translating otaku to neckbeard. Here are just a few examples. It says, anyway, no trying to go e-begging to a bunch of neckbeards, alright. If I purchased a visual novel or a video game in general, and you had a line in it that was like this, I would uninstall, I would refund, I would be like, enough is enough, I just can't take it, because it's so cringy, and I hate using that word, but it is the best way to describe this. It's just so cringy. While the use of the slang e-begging works in the context, translating otaku as neckbeard is incorrect and could be seen as a potshot by the players. It says, though, bazinga, 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 there's one girl performing the voice piece for soprano and a boy trying to imitate an American sitcom character. Given how difficult it would be to translate this in the context, any sexual joke as a chance would have likely sufficed, but the translators decided to go with the term bazinga, made famous by The Big Bang Theory. You have another one talking about crony capitalism. In this example, a character mispronounces a term made in Japan English compound match pump as map chinpo, which is mostly humorous anagram pun for the use of chinpo, meaning penis, but the translator decided to go with the character mistakenly saying cunny instead of crony, and of course that is even questionable, and a reach to try making a Japanese joke work in English. So as you can see, they have done this several times to content, and it is unfortunate, but it's not very surprising at this point, because whenever we know something has to be localized, it just instantly raises red flags, because I've had to talk so many times on this channel about localizers making questionable changes to content. Of course, this is not having to do with this situation or publisher specifically, but we've had plenty of localizers bragging about horribly westernized and inaccurate anime translations in the past, and it's just so sad to see, because when you get so excited for a piece of content to release, you don't want it to be butchered. You want to be paying good money for a good product. You do not want to be wasting your hard-earned money on a pile of trash, and sadly, a lot of the times, we don't know that something is going to have a butchered localization until it actually comes out and people have already started spending their money on it. This is not going to be the last time I have to talk about, localizers and localization processes adding, full memes and politics and questionable translations into their content, but unfortunately, when it comes to Shiravune, they have gotten significantly worse just over the past year, and I don't see them slowing down with that anytime soon. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.